Hurricanes are back in the Eastern Conference Final, but it hasn't been an easy road since they get to that point. It seems like they have no problems getting to the Eastern Conference Final, but it's been a struggle getting past that hurdle to get to the Stanley Cup Finals.
And just for a little bit of context, I have a little bit of data here. So 2009, they lost 4-0. They got swept by Pittsburgh Penguins. 2019, 4-0 to the Boston Bruins. 2023, 4-0 to the Florida Panthers. And in 2025, 4-1 to Florida Panthers. So if anybody recalls, they did go 15 games in a row in the Eastern Conference Finals where they lost, but they did manage to get a game out in the previous series. So now they're going back into it, and it makes you think, what do you think the players are thinking, and how, like, they all got to be aware of this hill that they have to go over to be able to win a conference final series again. What do you think's going through the players' minds? Do you think they actually even feel the pressure of it at all, or is it maybe just something that us viewers maybe keep in mind?
Oh, they definitely, I think they feel the pressure, right? Rod Brennamore, he's been the coach since 2018, and he's been in a few conference finals where they cannot find a way to get past it, right? They get up to that point, and then for some reason they fall apart, right?
Yeah.
And get swept in most of these series, right? So that's definitely on the back of their mind. Now, this year, they do have a different team, a much different team, a more fast, resilient, powerful team where their opponents have pretty much zero time with the puck, right? No matter what, as soon as their opponent touches the puck, they're right there in the corners with them immediately.
Yeah.
They're giving no breathing room to any of these teams right now. So if they can play like that in the conference finals, I think they have a very good chance this year to actually get over that hurdle. But it's going to be on the back of their minds, right? Where does that mentality play going into it, right? And how much would it affect those?
I was going to say, I think the psychology behind it is it's kind of playoffs within the playoffs. So oftentimes when you go about season hockey, you play, you do your usual thing, and then you go into playoffs. And every single shot you overthink, every single pass you overthink, even goaltending can kind of go through something. But now you have the psychology of it, of like, we have lost the previous 4, and not only lost, but got our butts kicked. So it becomes the playoffs within the playoffs, because now they're going to go right back to that old frame of mind of overthinking everything that they're doing. And so it makes you think, is this the team that can kind of break that cycle and not overthink it and just play hockey like they can play? And then they should straight up, they should win against Buffalo or Montreal. But the only way they wouldn't, in my opinion, is if they just overthink absolutely everything yet again.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I think a lot of their losses have come from in the final, right? They way overthink everything. They're a good team. If they play their game and at their speed, they have no problem taking out anybody.
Yeah.
Right? But that mental hurdle, like you said there, if they get into their own heads and they try too much to try to make sure they get out, there's going to be a lot of mistakes made. And if you look at Montreal and Buffalo, whoever makes it to the conference final, they're both teams that will capitalize on mistakes.
Yeah.
They look at each other, they're playing each other right now, and as soon as one person makes a mistake, that it's into the back of the net very quickly.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly. So Carolina's got to be able to focus on that and forget about all the noise around it and forget about everything that happened in the past, right? And focus on what they've been doing up until this point. Now, it's a lot easier said than done, but if you start making mistakes and overthinking everything, it's going to turn on you very, very quickly.
Yeah, and so what do you think Carolina Hurricanes has a much different team? And what difference, like what changes have they made to overcome something like this? And then after that, we could talk a little bit about how they would fare up against Buffalo and how they'd fare against Montreal. But talking on a baseline, how much of the team is different? And do we really see, like, is their defense going to stand up? Is their goaltending going to stand up? Are they even going to be able to score goals? Or are they just going to get, washed over again?
Well, Frederik Andersen has been phenomenal in that, right? Phenomenal. I think he's got a 9.4 save percentage right now in these playoffs, which is fantastic, right?
That is really good.
It's what you want. You have goal scorers such as Taylor Hall, all of a sudden showing up.
Yeah.
Seth Jarvis, Logan Stankoven. He has been a bright spot on this team, right? All very, very talented, experienced players that have been through lots of this.
Yeah.
Right? And you look at a Buffalo or Montreal, most of those players haven't even been through the playoffs
Yeah.
before. So if you look at a more experienced team such as Carolina, all the way from goaltending to their forwards, defense, even their head coaching and their coaching staff have all had experience. Most of them had a lot of experience in this.
Yeah.
You go to Montreal or Buffalo, they lack a lot of experience. They have a lot of young, new guys on both teams that have not experienced anything like this. And I think experience wins over talent.
Yeah.
Right? Those two teams are very talented coming into Carolina, right? One of those two teams. But experience will eventually catch up to them.
That's the whole idea of the experience, making you know that it's not just another playoffs. Play hockey like you do, and the puck's going to bounce your way, but don't overanalyze everything, and don't overshoot, don't overpass, don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that leads us to not knowing who they're going to play right now, but let's say they were going to play Buffalo. How do you think they'd fare against a team like that?
Buffalo, I think if they, like you said, quick to the corners, right? Anytime they touch the puck, they're right there, right?
Yeah.
Buffalo seems to, they seem to panic a little bit once they have some pressure on them, right? And they start making bad passes. You see it in this Montreal series right now. As soon as they get a little bit of pressure on them, they start panicking, making bad passes. The turnovers happen quick. And Montreal's the same way. Buffalo can do the same thing to them. So, but Carolina's very good at that.
Yeah.
They've proven that over Philly, right? They pressure.
Proven that over Ottawa, that's for sure.
Proven them over Ottawa. And if they keep up that pressure game, which they do very well, and Freddie Anderson plays like he has been playing, it's going to be very hard for Buffalo, I think, to overcome it. Now, if Buffalo is going to overcome this, they have to play like they have been throughout the season. Really gritty, lots of hitting, and the goaltender has to play better, right? Because Carolina's not going to let up on that, right? They're going to fire lots of shots, but Buffalo and star players like Tage Thompson has to show up.
Yeah.
And if you don't, I think it's going to be a walk for Carolina.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on most part there. I think it's Carolina's to lose in that case. And
Yeah.
I mean, after this next one, I'll talk about Montreal. We'll talk about maybe how many games it'll take each kind of round. But first of all, Montreal, what differences do you think that Carolina playing Montreal would cause? Like, obviously, it would have to be a bit of a different hockey style, especially when Montreal skates up, and like when they beat Tampa Bay, they got 9 shots or something on net. They're a very let's take a beating here and let's go forward and score. So what do you think Carolina would like? What do you think their answer would be to that? If they just keep pummeling the net with shots and shots and shots, then all of a sudden Montreal catches them off guard. Do you think Carolina will be overly prepared for that?
I think they're going to be more prepared than Tampa was.
Yeah,
for sure, right? I think they're going to be well more prepared for that. Montreal is not going to be able to win on 9 shots.
Yeah,
Not against
not
Carolina.
against Carolina.
Not against Carolina, right? They're not going to be able to do that. And Caulfield's going to have to start scoring more goals, right?
Yeah.
They have a lot of chances, a lot of shots. Oh, not in that game. But most of the time they do create a lot of chances, a lot of offensive rushes, right? But they have a hard time capitalizing on their scoring right now. They're missing the net a lot. Not good quality shots. The time when they're in the offensive zone, a lot of errant passes that go off skates and stuff like that. And if they can eliminate that and start actually getting the shots on the net and good quality scoring chances, I think they'll have a much better chance at beating Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Than I'd say Buffalo would. Right?
So you think that was going to be my question, right? Of if between Buffalo and Montreal, which team do you think would fare better against a team like Carolina Hurricanes?
Yes, yeah. I think
Montreal?
with Montreal, I think they do because they have a lot of that front end talent, right?
Yeah.
And Dobis, he's been playing really good in that, right? He can be a little off. He can get emotional very quickly. So that's something he's going to have to try to control and not take penalties like he has in a couple of games.
Oh yeah,
against Buffalo, right? Got to control your emotions. And if he can do that, I know Dobis could be a top-end goaltender in these playoffs, and he could save this series.
yeah.
Right? But it has to come from both ends.
So which team would you say between Montreal and Buffalo have the better defense?
I think Montreal.
That's a tough one. Not goaltending, defense.
If you look at the two teams,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of scoring in between these two teams. They're very, very fast, quick, offensive teams that don't seem to focus more on defense. They want to score goals.
Yeah.
And then the defense almost comes second to both of these teams.
Yeah.
So, if I were to give an edge to anybody, I'd probably say Montreal.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because I do think that the stronger defensive team is going to have to be what you counter Carolina Hurricanes with. But I do know that Buffalo does have the power. Like you said, if they make those hits, I could see Buffalo punching through a little more likely than Montreal. But then there's the whole experience thing that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So that's gonna play a little bit into it as well. So, Carolina and Buffalo. Who do you give the edge to, and how many games?
Carolina and Buffalo, I would give the edge to Carolina, and I think they will finish it in 5.
Interesting. I think I think a little different. I think Buffalo in 6.
Over Carolina.
I think Buffalo over Carolina.
Yeah.
I think that curse is going to get in their heads, and when it affects more than just one singular player, it's going to affect team, and you pretty much have like a 30-40% chance of it affecting the goaltending, where the defense is going to make up a lot of that as well. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think it's going to be enough for Buffalo.
Yeah, I think the reason why I think Carolina is because I think they're a lot more rounded of a team this year.
Yeah.
They have a lot more experienced guys than they have in the past, right? They had a lot of younger guys like Aho, Svechnikov, right? Rod Brandemore's been there multiple times. He knows exactly what he's doing, what's coming up, right? But you have guys like Taylor Hall and Anderson, right?
Absolutely.
He's been through a lot, and he hasn't been in the goaltending situation in the last couple times they were in the conference finals.
Yeah.
So, and if they do, they have Brandon Bussey to back him up, which he's been playing phenomenal as well. So, experience, a lot more experience this year than they have in the previous years.
Okay.
So that's why I think Carolina should be able to take it this year.
In 5, you said.
In 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so what about Montreal? Like my opinion here is I think Montreal, if they do make it through and they do play Carolina, I could actually see Carolina taking it in, let's say, I want to say 6, but I think 5, to be honest.
Yeah, I think 6.
You think 6?
Yeah.
Okay, so you think Carolina winning regardless?
I think Carolina winning regardless, just due to the fact that I don't think they're going to let that happen again.
Yeah.
And with the experience and the way Taylor Hall and everybody's playing, right, it's going to be a completely different series.
So you do have full confidence that it is a very much a different team than a couple of years ago, or the past 4 series, that they have what it takes to punch through this time.
Very much, because I've said it before,
Yeah.
not on this podcast, but Carolina played a very boring style game.
Yeah.
Very similar or very simple. Dump the pucks in deep, go chase it along the boards, right? It's a very different game they're playing this year. Very different game. They are rushing every chance they get, right? They don't let anybody have any breathing room. And that, I think, what allows them to be where they are right now and how lethal they are. Plus, good goaltending.
Yeah.
So, question quickly before we take off here. They have a lot of time before their next series,
Yeah.
right? Whether it be Montreal or Buffalo. Does this affect them? It's the old question of rust versus rest. What do you think? Do you think it's going to benefit them to have all this time off?
I think in this case, no, but there's a reason why. And that's because they're coming up against a team who just got off of a high. They just made it to 7 games, and they just won, that barring, that team's not too beat up. Where I don't think a lot of players in this series between Buffalo and Montreal are getting beat up.
Yeah.
I think that's where it comes in, is they're going to be playing a team like on a high. Kind of like it was last time when they played Florida Panthers, and they got absolutely crushed when they went into it after, and that was the second round last year. After Florida went 7 games with Toronto, they came off a high, and Florida just absolutely stampeded over top of them, right? So I think that's going to be the one thing is they might let go of 1 game in that way against Buffalo or Montreal. But I do think in this case, the long rest time is actually a negative thing. If both teams were well rested, 3 to 5 days, then it would be equal. It would be a good net gain, in my opinion. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think too much rest time, I think, gets you out of your groove, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't take the time to do practices and get ready for your game, probably a week in advance, like try to get as many practices as you can, you start to lose some of that edge. Some of that edge, that you've had coming out of this, right? Carolina hasn't lost a game yet in these playoffs, which it doesn't happen very often where they go 3 series without a loss. So
Yeah.
I imagine their first loss is going to be in this series.
Yeah, no, likewise. It's one of those where a team comes off a 7-game series and they got a big surge of dopamine going through their brain, feeling great, and that gets rid of all the pain. And then you want to go and you want to beat the next guys just because it felt so good.
Yeah.
Where Carolina, they got that dopamine hit, but it was a week and a half ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time ago.
So
right?
it's all cleared by now.
Yeah. So they're gonna have to refresh, reset, and hopefully they'll be ready to play either Montreal or Buffalo come Eastern Conference Final.
Yeah.
But the time will tell. Once they get going, we'll have to wait for Buffalo and Montreal to finish their series first, and then we'll see what happens after that. That is all the time we have for tonight. Thanks again for watching. Have a wonderful night.
See ya.